TUFF SHIFT. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of TUFF SHIFT, the podcast where we unpack all that goes into surviving the job and living the dream. Yep, because everything is sunny and bright and lovely. It actually is today in LA, and I think it is in New York because they had a beautiful weekend for Easter. This episode is being filmed after Easter. I know you're like, what? Easter was a while ago. Yeah, but when I'm recording it, it's Easter, right? And with that in mind, I wanted to talk about how when I'm working on these opening bits, the pre-shifts, as I call them, I am constantly just spinning like 3 different ones at a time. Like, oh, let's talk about the people and their hot takes on fresh mint tea, because there were some flexes around people's opinions around fresh mint tea. Not one, but multiple times in the past few weeks where I've had to answer their questions and hear their concerns around it. Yeah, that's weird. And just trying to find what seems to be the most relevant, the most fresh, the most important to bring to you today. Because again, this show is for people who work in hospitality, who have worked in hospitality, and just want some sort of relief, want to be seen, want to be heard, want to commiserate. But it's also for people who haven't worked in hospitality and want to know what it's really like behind the scenes. And we're here to provide something for everyone. So I just want to make sure that I'm bringing you the best stories, the most interesting stories, the ones that resonate with me the most, and very much like, news coverage. I never set anything in stone too soon, because who knows what can happen by the time that I decide this is what we're talking about, and these are the shifts I've worked in between that and recording. And yeah, it's like CNN or NBC or any breaking news. I want to make sure before we go live on the air, we have all the updates. And boy, do we have the updates today, because I'm not going to share any of the things that I was working on. I have a few ones that I keep saying this, we'll talk next week, and I keep pushing it back. There's a lot of hot takes. There's a lot of swings and misses for the restaurant I'm at right now. But, that's not really that important. This morning, I got a text from my friend Sam, who was also a guest on this show, episode, I don't know, like 9, 8, 11, one of those. Go back and listen to Sam Belanger. He actually is our #1 episode so far. So go help keep his numbers up, or go find somebody else's episode. Listen to all of them. Listen to all of them on repeat. You don't have to have the volume up. Put it on mute. Let's run these numbers up, right? So I can quit my job. But Sam sent me this meme with a little graphic of the Facebook marked safe from, and we use for natural disasters, this and that, and it was a picture of a springtime brunch patio, and it said "Mark saved from Easter brunch. Get ready, Mother's Day's next." And I have never felt something to my core like I have felt that meme that he sent me. It was hilarious, but oddly enough, it didn't really resonate with me currently. It resonated with past Easters I have worked in New York City, but here in LA, and I've said it before, it's just, things are different, obviously, in LA versus New York. And for every holiday we've had, everyone's like, oh, we're going to be busy. Oh, last year we were swamped. Last year, da 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 da. And then we get to the holiday and like, isn't this crazy? Wow, we're really doing it. And I'm like, what do you guys I don't feel it. I don't feel, are you in? I don't feel anything. But people just seem overwhelmed by this brunch rush. And whether it was last Mother's Day when I was working at that place in Culver City, or this Easter at the place I'm working at in Venice, to me, that's what a normal brunch should be. It should be that busy. And then on the holidays, it should be crazy. We did maybe around 200 covers yesterday, which was like not that intense. That's what we should be doing regularly. Like when I worked at Cook Shop, I think the record we got at brunch was 700 covers. That's ridiculous. That is crazy. That is the rush. Like because I know some people, some guests on the show and other people I work with, they love that rush. They love that feeling of being in the weeds as long as they know that there's an end time. They enjoy that. That's what you get from working holidays. And so it's kind of been a little bit of a letdown, except for the fact that, and I know I've mentioned this before on here, oddly enough, I stand by. New York does restaurants better than LA. They have a better understanding of how this industry works, and they have a better understanding of how to properly execute it. But what I'm experiencing in LA is that I'm making way more money waiting here and apparently doing less than I did in any one of the restaurants that I ever worked at in New York City, where I was hustling and bustling, turning tables, running dishes, doing everything I could to make money, but just didn't quite make enough. And here it's like I'm getting paid more and I'm doing less. And it's just kind of like, well, what's the point? Like, why are you upset about that? Why are you complaining about doing less work and being able to pay your rent with less effort? And I really think that comes back to the fact that in New York, we normalize so many traumatic experiences. We normalize the intensity that is New York, whether you're getting on the subway to go to the audition, whether you're walking down the street to get milk, whether you're checking the mail, whatever you're doing, it is so intense and you are being just like beat over the head energetically and spiritually that's kind of like how we assign value to things. Like, I know something was good because it broke my spirit. That that is not healthy. That is not a healthy outlook. And I'm going to work on fixing that. And I'm going to work on being okay with doing less work, which is not just something I get from New York. I also get that from my immigrant adjacent upbringing. And just to be clear, because people take this and go the wrong way, my parents aren't immigrants. My grandparents are immigrants. And my parents had a very immigrant parent upbringing. So I feel like a lot of that trauma, a lot of that intensity was passed on to me. And our grandparents were very much a part of our lives and our upbringing. So I got a lot of their experience and lived wisdom thrust upon me. So I'm always thinking, gotta have a job, gotta have 2 jobs, gotta have 3 jobs. Just don't be a burden, don't be a menace, don't be just so I need to chill. I need to chill. It's okay if I only have 1 job. That's okay. That's the goal, right? That's the goal, to be doing this just 1 job. And it's okay if it's like, actually, if that job is not in hospitality, if that job is acting, right? I keep saying CBS, you have like 25 versions of NCIS, NBC, you got 62 Law and Orders. There's whatever. I'll do whatever. I'll do whatever. Come on now. I speak 2 languages. Put me to work. Anyways, this is not part of the opening shift. I just had a side quest. But I do want to share that yesterday specifically, that Easter brunch was not only easy, it was kind. It was actually very kind. Now, there were a few moments where it got slightly hairy. My first table was an 18 top, and this place doesn't have the best like spacing between tables. So large parties are great because autograt and just keep, oh, you want another side of this? Oh, you want not a refill, you want another drink? So you just keep running that check up and just checking on them. But for those large parties at this place, you can't reach everybody. Like there are just certain pockets of people at this table for 18 people where I just have to like, hey, we're a team. We're making an assembly line. Will you pass this drink down? Will you pass them their plate? Will you pass me their dirty plate? Which is something I just is horrific, but it's the only way to get it done. And it's a little more chill out here, and nobody seems to mind that. So that's fine. But everyone, the 18 top, so sweet. A whole bunch of parents and kids and friends, whatever they were doing, 18 of them just out for Easter. And the kids were adorable. And all the parents were super sweet and super attentive to their children. So I didn't have to nanny them. And it was great. Everyone was lovely. There wasn't a single asshole. There was one. one lady who was a bit of an asshole to start off with. I went up to the table, I greeted her, and I said, "Hi, welcome. I don't say my name. Hi, welcome. Can I start you off with some filtered tap, or would you prefer a bottle?" Blah. And she's like, "I've already been greeted. I've already been greeted. There's been 3 people who've touched this table. Everyone has said hello to me. Somebody's getting me my water." Okay, thank you for letting me know. And then she went on, she said, "I'm sorry, I work with so and so, who's one of my dumbass coworkers, who works at the bar." And it turns out she's a liquor rep. And and so she's like, "She's one of us, but you're not one of us. We don't like you." Well, in most of the restaurants, the wine reps, the liquor reps, they're so sleazy and just such assholes. And she embodied that. And so I was like, whatever, calmed her down. She left me a mediocre tip, which is further proof that she's not in the industry. But that alone, that alone, there's always going to be one. That's everyone was wonderful, but specifically my last table. My last table is a table that I completely forgot about. Just I'm not even going to pretend like, oh, I saw you. It's towards the end of the shift when you've turned so many tables that you just assume that table's always been there and you don't realize that there's a new table. So I forgot about them for a little bit and got them water, and then went around I did my roll-ups, I ran some drinks, I did a lot of talking with anybody who would listen to me complain about whatever I had to complain about. And then I walked back out on the patio and they just gently waved me over and said they were ready for drinks. It was a full, like, no less than 10 minutes that I forgot them, which I'm so sorry, but they were wonderful. They were absolutely wonderful and so kind. And they were low stakes, super chill, running up that check on their own. And then at the end of the day, when it was time to close them out, they were very generous in their compensation and as far as tips go. And then one of the young gentlemen looked at me and he said, "Hey, you're wonderful." What? That was my Easter shift here in LA. My spirit wasn't broken. I left undefeated. Oh, baby, I did. And I went home and I just enjoyed my nachos and margaritas, my Easter nachos and margaritas a little more. So thank you to everyone that I came across yesterday for reminding me that while there are a lot of tough shifts, some of them are just great or even just okay. It's okay to just be okay. Right? Now, before we get to today's guest, I want to do a few shout outs. Speaking of nachos and margaritas, I want to just say hello to my friends at De Nada in Austin, Texas. I got this shirt when I went there. They don't have nachos, but that's okay because their quesadillas and their tacos are phenomenal. And the margaritas are, oh, Jesus Christ, so good. But I went there for a wedding to Austin, Texas with my fiance and ended up meeting up with my friend, who's also a former guest, Lauren Gerber, on the show. And when we get together, we have nachos and margaritas. And she's like, they don't have nachos, but you're going to love this place. And I did. I was like a kid in a candy shop, like so much so that my waiter came up to me and said, "Hey, our manager is noticing that you're having a really good time here and that you seem really excited about the food and everything, that he wants you to stop by the gift shop on your way out and pick out any shirt you want." And that's where I got this shirt from Donata. So if you find yourself in Austin, Texas, go say hi. Tell them Large Marge sent you. No, they won't know who that is. They probably won't know who I am. And most of you don't even know the reference of who Large Marge is. But that's fine. We live, we learn, we give this podcast a 5-star rating. Also, I wanted to give another shout out to Richard Skipper, who is returning to the Laurie Beachman Theater on May 30th with his brand new show, Everything You Wanted to Know About Richard Skipper, but Were Too Afraid to Ask. It's an interactive show. He is somebody that I look up to as far as hosts go. He is a phenomenal host. He's so charming. He's so lovely. He's had a career. Google him, as he says in his flyer. Google him and then come to the show. And if you have any follow-up questions, find him on YouTube. Look up Richard Skipper Celebrates. See the interviews he's done. But you go to the show and you scan a QR code and you can ask any question and he's answering them live. This is unscripted. the audience is making this show. So that's May 30th at the Laurie Beachman Theater. Tickets are now on sale by visiting The Beachman. That's BEECHMAN .com. And this is the theater in honor of the Broadway legend Laurie Beachman. It is brand new. It is reopened. And don't forget to use that discount code RSC 2025 exclamation point. All right, that's all I got to talk about today before we get to today's guest. And today's guest, I need to take a breath because there is a lot to unpack with today's guest. She is a singer with a capital S and every other letter that goes into that word. She has this voice that just doesn't quit. It is powerful, it is rich, but it's also so tender and nuanced. It lifts your spirits, but then it also just soothes you. She is phenomenal. And beyond being a ridiculously talented singer, she is a multi-hyphenate that puts other multi-hyphenates to shame, make it look like they're not doing enough, because she's a singer, she is an actress, a writer, a musician, a choir director, a filmmaker, an activist, a producer, a voice teacher. The list goes on. She's spinning so many plates, and she does them so well. So we're going to figure out how she does that. That's amazing. She is based in New York City, and she has appeared in the choir of Rocktopia on Broadway. She's performed at the 60th annual Grammy Awards as a backup vocalist for Sam Smith. She's done national tours, New York City theater film festivals, regional theater. Her shows include Vocalocity, The Color Purple, The Wiz, A Night with Janis Joplin, Hairspray, to name a few, and of course, the show that every single homosexual in musical theater just bows down to and holds as the pinnacle. She's done Dreamgirls as Effie White, not once, but twice. This resume, and specifically that role, lets you know everything you need to know about her, because you don't get to put these on your resume. You don't get cast, you don't get through these shows without having vocals for days. And that just tells us about her power, her technique, which we're going to unpack about. She also made the short film, the documentary 50 Mile Run for Justice, which won an award and was so powerful and necessary. And I want to definitely make sure that y'all go check that out. And we're going to unpack where that came from and the inspiration and what drove her to be such an amazing voice to bring attention to this cause. She is phenomenal. She is talented. She is here to tell you herself all the amazing stuff she does. Please welcome to the podcast, Nattalyee Randall.
Hi,
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to have you here. I need a nap. Just rattling on your accomplishments.
Thank you.
Because like I said, you do it. So you're somebody that you've been on my radar for the past literally handful of years, like 5
Mhm.
years ago, almost today. Um, and just from the world you created as a voice in a movement that was happening in 2020, who
Mhm.
you and the circles that overlapped, and that's how I got to see you and experience what an amazing activist you are. And then
Thank you.
beyond that, be like, oh, and she can sing. Oh, she can do this. Like you are such an important person, and I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm so happy that you're doing all the things you do. And I'm gonna shower you with just get ready. I'm gonna give you so many compliments. I'm gonna
I
give you so many
appreciate it
compliments,
truly.
but we'll get to all those compliments. I want to know the same question I ask all my guests. What was your gateway job into this wonderful world of living in New York City, supporting your dream, working in hospitality?
My gateway job was definitely catering.
Mm.
I feel like everyone who's lived here has catered. I've done obviously other rise and grind jobs like teaching or because I got my degree in education, so I've taught. I've done brand ambassador work. I've done pretty much anything you can do. Um, but I would say catering was my main hospitality job that I did. And
And how
yeah,
long were you catering?
I catered on and off because like I remember one time I went to an interview for a catering position that you had to like know all this stuff, and I did not know all that stuff, like what side the fork goes on and how you serve somebody, and they were like saying all this crazy lingo I did not know. So I was like, I don't know if I'm the best caterer, but I was like, what I can do is put food on a plate and carry it out. That I can do. So I was a caterer for like maybe on and off, I would say 5 or 6 years. Not even
Oh,
really. But like even today, if someone was like, can you come cater a small party? Sure. Like
yeah.
I would do that. But definitely like the big one, no, I don't do that anymore.
I don't blame you. Um, because catering is, I used to turn my nose up to catering and be like, I work in a restaurant. I follow these steps of service. And like catering is just like so simple. It's not, people. Catering is, and there's something there's pros and cons to everything. What I
Mm-hmm.
found was a pro to catering was that there was an end time and that there
Yes.
was an order of events. Now, it didn't always go off like according to plan, but at least there was a skeleton. Whereas in a restaurant, who knows if you're going to get sat? Who knows if people are going to spend money? Who knows if people are going to make you question your life
Yeah.
choices? But catering is a little more secure in that. And
Yes.
then you have these things where it's like, oh, can you, speaking of things that I had no idea, like, how do you box a table? And I'm like, I don't know. Do you have the original packaging? And it's like, no, that's actually, that's actually about putting linen on it. And there's like things that you can learn, but
Hmm.
there's pros and cons to everything. And with that, is there a specific shift that you experienced that just lives in that just sits with you today? Where you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad that day is over. I'm glad that just made you realize that, catering's not for me. Is there a shift that just really put you through it?
Um, I would say honestly every shift because I am someone who is very much a fake it till you make it.
Hmm.
And so a lot of times I just go into jobs like, yeah, I know how to do it. Like I'll learn on the job kind of thing. But I was doing a private party and it was I don't know if it was a bar mitzvah or what it was, but it was definitely like, that type of party. And I just was like way in over my head. Like I had no idea what was happening. Obviously, I know there's traditions and stuff like that, which they like asked if we knew. And I was like, oh yeah. And I was just like, I need to fall back. I was like, I do not know what is going on. I was just like, okay, yeah, like, and it was just it ended up being a mess, like a mess
Yeah.
on my end. Um, because like I didn't know the names of the food, and like people were asking me, I didn't know what was in it, and I was just like, this is not okay. That's not okay. Do not do what I did.
It is very hard, and specifically, like, I've worked a few bar mitzvahs, and they can be pretty chill. They can be wild. The place that I'm at now, it's an amazing venue space. Like, it's a restaurant, but like they do full buyouts. And we had this one bar mitzvah that it was last August. It was like 85 degrees. We were like fully outside, and it was like the way we were saying, like, isn't this for like 13-year-olds? And it's like, I mean, technically, but like it was for these adults, and specifically the parents that were footing this bill, were
Yeah.
there to party. And I mean, the cocktail list was so extensive. I'm like, again, isn't this for 13-year-olds? And it was so crazy. They had this like DJ, it like felt like you were somewhere on the Mediterranean. Like it was house EDM. Like it was just so much bass and so much electronic that a coworker was across the street at a grocery. It was her day off. She was
Hmm.
across the street at the grocery store, and she's like, "What the hell is going on over there? It sounds like you're on Mykonos." Like, what? I'm like, I have
You're like, I
no,
wish.
I had no idea. And it was just like we were running around for that party went on for 8 hours in 85-degree weather. It
Oh
was,
gosh,
oh yeah, it was
that sounds nightmarish.
it was nuts. It was, and I had another bar mitzvah I worked where, again, it's a big day, it's an important day, there's lots of stress. It's almost like a wedding. And the mother of the bar mitzvah was intense. She was so intense and riding our tails where it was just like I was just like to the point where like I almost walked out because I'm like, she is just being so unnecessarily rude and condescending. But you know what? At the end of the day, we opened an envelope and there was on top because we got paid our hourly and we got on top of that everybody got an extra $275. I was like,
Wow.
you could have like smacked me around a little if you wanted to.
You're like, actually, this was
This
fine.
was great. When's your next bar mitzvah? I'm totally there. So what was it about like when you got to, like that you realized like catering's not for me and like and you just were like I stopped picking up shifts and what did you transfer into as the next gig to pay the bills?
I also substitute taught while I was catering,
Oh.
and substitute teaching slash tutoring kids was easier because it's a controlled environment, one on one. Also, I'm dealing with kids. I don't have to like carry food around, and that's also like my comfort in the sense of like I know what I'm doing. So I actually like substitute taught and tutored pretty much exclusively after that. And like I said, I would if someone was like, "Hey, can you come help with this?" Sure, even to this day. But overall, I was like, I'm not picking up shifts. I'm not putting on these black pants, anything like
And even
no.
just like carrying it around, because I'm sure you had to do this too. Like there were so many people like in auditions, and it's like they have their dance bag, they have their garment bag for their catering, and then they have their gym bag. It's just like I would say like walking around, like leaving your apartment every day in New York City is like fleeing Anatevka, like just with everything you own on your back. Like it's just like, are we doing Fiddler today? Like we're doing Fiddler every day.
Yes, basically.
And so I am so impressed because with as much of a deep dive as I did and all of the side jobs I thought I knew and all the things you did, I didn't know you did education. I didn't know that that's what you got your degree in and you worked in as well. Now, did performing just kind of sneak its way? Like, were you like, I'm going to be a teacher, that's my life, and then you just accidentally became a performer?
No, so I did my first show, actually Annie, my one of my favorite
Oh,
musicals, first musical I ever did. Um and I fell in love with musical theater, but my parents helped me pay for college and they very much were like, "Yeah, you're going to major in something to them," which was a fallback. They were like, "We support you going to New York, doing the musical theater thing, but we want you to get a degree to fall back on if anything happens." Which in hindsight, I'm so thankful they made me do that because to this day, I can literally like get a teaching job at a public school and whatever. And that's helped me stay afloat more than anything. Um, so yeah, that's what actually, that's why I have my degree in education. And I moved to New York after I graduated from school with that degree and was like, I want to do musical theater. So I didn't get to go to school for musical theater, which I would have loved to do, but I didn't get to.
but you went to the school of life because you have been performing for pretty much your entire life, right? Like you've
Yeah.
learned on stage, which is
Yeah.
something you can't teach and you have it.
Cannot.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And those backup plans really do come in handy. Like, I mean, I don't have a degree in finance. I actually did go to school for theater. But I work as a bookkeeper. I work, I have so
Oh.
many different side hustles that I do because I also had family members. It was always so funny because my grandmother, my abuelita, and her sisters would always say, "Do you know, Whoopi Goldberg still gets her mortician's license renewed every year." And I'm like, how did you know how to say mortician in English? Like, great.
I did not know that.
And
Wow.
I mean, I don't know if it's real. This
It's
is
all,
before
honestly,
I
it's a good story to tell.
it's a good story, and it made me fall in line and made me think, okay, you gotta have, like I mentioned in the beginning in my opening, like that
Yeah.
idea that you have to have a job, you have to work, you have to do what you need to do, like have the dream,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
you are the one driving the ship. So can we just together just get it out all on the table? What are the things that you've done? What are some of like give us samples of the survival jobs you've done in New York City?
Oh God. So I've full time taught. Like I taught. I was a music teacher at a school in the Bronx. I was very Catholic school, Sister Mary Clarence. I had 500 students.
Love that.
Um, I've substitute taught. I have tutored. I was a gymnastics teacher for a couple weeks, which is a comical story in its own. I have done, like I said, brand ambassador work. I've also done secretary work, like temp kind of work, and I've done um, a lot of the stuff that I've done. I guess I would say is mainly educational because of that degree,
Yeah.
which was so helpful. Because I also sold merch, which that was honestly a humbling experience because I had a film in a film festival, in one of the top film festivals here in New York, and my documentary was there. And like then I went to go work at the merch job, which was like minimum wage. And someone came up to me, it was like my first day at the job, and they're like, "Weren't you?" They're like, "Did I just see you somewhere?" And I was like, "I don't know." They were like, "Oh wait, your film was," and I was like, "Yes, it was." And here I am.
And this is
Yes,
the life.
I worked at a dog shop. I was a general manager at a grooming salon with dogs, which mind you, I don't like dogs, but you know,
But hey, you got to pay for the
yeah,
dream. Bills got to get
right.
paid.
Babysat. Yeah, I've done pretty much, yeah, anything that someone can figure out to do, I have done.
Now, what was so the merch, was it for like Broadway shows or was it
Mhm.
for like okay. So what it was one show? Because I know you get to like kind of listen to it, right? Like you hear the
Yeah,
show.
yeah, yeah.
So what was your favorite show that you sold merch for that you could just go back, you could listen to again? You could just be like, I could listen to this show every night.
MJ the musical. I just went back on Saturday actually because one of my students is now playing little MJ, and so it was actually I was just thinking like when I was there because I bought some merch for him and then I bought some merch that I wanted because I literally have every piece of merch from that musical because I would watch it every single night because I'm obsessed with that show. I love it.
Ah,
I hope one day to be in it, but um when I got my student, I was like, it's great because I was like, I've seen this show 100 times. So I was like, little do you know, this is the best place to be.
yeah.
Um,
A great way to start a working relationship together. That's phenomenal. I
mhm.
missed that. I missed a lot in New York because I took for granted that Broadway was my backyard. And like, oh yes, and there's so many shows. I was like, what
Mhm.
the hell? Though I did see Once on This Island 3 times because that
Oh,
show,
so good.
oh, it tore me up. And it was just like, I would, at the end of it, I'd be smiling so hard, but tears running down my face because, like, I'm happy and sad at the same time. Like, that
Yeah,
cast, that cast was, oh God, I
phenom,
loved that show.
phenomenal.
And you've also worked as like a child wrangler on Broadway too, right?
Yes, I'm like I forgot that was, I guess a survival job, but I did child wrangle for Lion King on Broadway, which was so much fun, so amazing. Um, which really, excuse me, because I also did general management too. Like
Jesus Christ.
so
We're
I
not going to get
wa-
through today's show. We're just making the list.
I was a general management fellow for A Christmas Carol, the one recently with Jefferson Mays, the one man
Oh
show.
wow, yeah.
Yeah, and so that was like super amazing to do, and I got to like go backstage, and I mean I say it like we've all been backstage, but I actually got to like really sit in the booth with the stage manager, which is
Yeah.
something I have not done. So that was actually cool to do while also I was doing general management and looking at company management and stage management. Just because I'm also a person too where it's like I think it's the most humbling experience when you've literally done everything because it's like I can empathize with every single person, every aspect, everyone.
It
And I
makes you a
suggest people
better
do
team
that.
player. Yeah, makes you a much don't lead with pride. Be like, but I'm the talent. I'm the
Yeah.
actor. Like, well, actors gotta roll up their sleeves too. So you need to, right? And you'll be a little more appreciative of why that wasn't maybe in the spot it needed to be, and we can go back and fix that. We don't have to
Exactly. And it
yell.
made me that way.
We don't have to give stink face to everybody. Like, just yeah. So I want to know, is this your ability to be able to just get things done, both as a performer and as somebody who can just pick up a job and get things done. Like you, again, I mentioned you're spinning so many plates, you're wearing so many hats, you're doing it so well. Is this a learned talent that like someone in your life you watched and you just you saw them spinning these plates and be like, wow, and you just naturally, or is it something that was you just did yourself? You're just like, oh well, this needs to get done and I can figure out how to do it, and this needs to get done and I know I can do that. Like what who is that person, if that person is in your life, that taught you that was the example, or how did you find it in yourself?
That's actually a good question. I've actually never been asked that before. I would say my mom, 100%. My parents are pastors, and my
Hmm.
mom was always literally doing something, helping somebody. Like, she always stood in the gap for people. And so as I got older, and I mean, still now, like, you can ask any of my friends, like, I will fly to your show if it's in LA. I will come, even if it's across the street at some little rinky dink theater. I just believe, like, where there is a gap, I I will fill it,
Hmm.
because not everybody had that, because when I moved to New York, I needed guidance that I didn't get from anyone. And so all the lessons that I've had, I want to give to people so that they don't go through the same thing that I went through. And I also want people to realize, like, yes, theater is amazing and like we love being on stage, but there is so much more that you can do that not only is lucrative, but it's
Hmm.
also just so much fun. And I'm like, and so, like, my mom, and I'm also very much a person too, as a Black woman, where if we don't have a Black woman in that position, I'm not going to say sacrifice, but I'm willing to take a step back from maybe being in the limelight so that I can go direct, or I can go produce, or I can do this, because we need more of that.
Creating the spaces and the environment you want to see. I actually just saw something yesterday on Facebook, and not everyone got it, which is like just our society. But it was a little video snippet, like a reel, of the people involved on Gypsy,
Mm,
and really talking about how it's not just a stunt to have a Black Mama Rose.
mm-hmm.
The people that are being brought, that have seats at the table, it's not that, oh, this is different because she's Black and June is Black and this, like, it is the fact that there is a Black director, there is a Black
Yeah,
there are all the seats that are usually taken up by the same white people on Broadway, like, oh well, we
yeah.
have a Black cast but you have a white director, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
this amazing, it filled my heart to be like this. And I'm really, I need to get to New York to see the show, but to really talk about creating that space and that environment and being the first ones to do it. So I just applaud you, because I
Thank
know
you.
all the places you have stepped up. Hey there, just checking in. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, why not leave us a 5-star review and a comment or two wherever you're listening to this from? And don't forget to follow us on social media at TUFF SHIFT Podcast. That's TUFF Shift Podcast. Everywhere. Literally everywhere. And just a reminder, gratuities not included, but tips are always welcome. And you can find our virtual tip jar at tuffshiftpodcast.com. That's TUFF Shift Podcast.com. All right, back to the show.
Mhm.
So I kind of want to use it. I'm going to skip where we were going to go, and I want to get to, if you're okay with it,
Yeah.
to 50 Mile Run for Justice. And
Mm-hmm.
and this is how you came into my world and into my algorithm. And I just was like, I am going to cheer this woman on as much as I can, because I am watching, of the people we have in common, just the people who really stepped up. Don't let me talk. Tell us about 50 Mile Run for Justice, because again, I'm going to sing your praises all day.
It means a lot. That film was born because I was in a weight loss journey, and so then I wanted to, like, make a little, like, documentary about me running my first marathon, which was the New York City Marathon in 2019. And then I was like, you know what? My director and I were like, let's go further. Like, maybe you could do a triathlon. I was like, no. Maybe we were trying to figure all this stuff out, and then we were like, let's do a 50-mile race, and then the world shut down, so that got put on pause. And then my mom was like, make, like, if you're gonna do all this, like, if you're gonna do it, document it. And also, I was just very scared to document it because I was like, what if I don't finish it? But that's, that's why I love documentaries. It's like, hey, you might not finish it. So, my director ended up having to drop because of some family issues because this was in 2020. And so then I
Hmm.
was like, well, I guess I have to direct it. And then last minute they did come back, thank God. So we co-directed it. But yeah, I ended up, because with the whole George Floyd movement and everything happening there, I ended up changing the documentary, and it just being a 50-mile run about my life, I made it a 50-mile protest run. Every mile was dedicated to someone who lost their life to police brutality, and I had like little protest at each stopping point. And by protest, it was like we just met up and, like everyone had signs on for different people that had lost their lives. And we had family members of people who had been killed through police violence. And I just didn't expect it to be the movement that it ended up being. And so it was like all over the US, everybody was running that same day.
Mm.
And it changed my life 100%. Like the most monumental one of the most monumental moments in my whole entire life.
And was the activist born out of this, or has there always been a little bit of an activist in you?
There's been a little bit of an activist in me, but I will say 2020 was the tipping point, specifically
Hmm.
George Floyd. And that is why I'm very, thankful. I was able to talk to one of his brothers, and I was like, it's so unfortunate that he had to die, but I want to let you know his death became the birth of me becoming the most outrageous activist there could be, because I was a little scared to get on the streets. I was, a little timid. And then I just thought to myself, when you look back in history books, if you talk to your kids, if I have kids or your grandkids or my nieces, nephews, whoever, and they're like talking about this and they're like, well, what did you do? I refuse to say nothing, and I refuse to just have sat inside when I could have easily been out there. So that
You
was a huge part
truly
of it.
lifted your voice. You got on a loudspeaker. You did what you did. You became somewhat of a leader in
Hmm.
the New York community,
Yeah.
which is I applaud you.
Thank
It's
you.
taking your talent and your heart, because yes, our talents are meant to entertain. They're meant to distract, all that, but they also, we know that theater and that entertainment is the mirror that reflects back to us what society is, and taking your voice to bring attention to things that need to be addressed. You are doing more than your fair share. So I just want to applaud you, and as the kids are saying nowadays, give you your flowers. Um, I don't think I'm cool enough or young enough to say that, but but to really acknowledge you for that.
Thank
And
you.
I want people. We'll talk about it a little later, but they can stream this movie still. Yes.
Yes. After it did the film festival circuit, it played on PBS. I paired up with a magazine, Trail Running Magazine, and they played it on their website, Merrill Shoes. I just put it on my Instagram and YouTube, just so
She's
anyone
got
could watch.
sponsors, babies. She's got sponsors.
I was like, after I did the circuit and everything, and it won a lot of film festivals, and it was just very monumental in many ways. I was like, the world should see this for free and not have to. So I literally just have it on like a YouTube link, and there's like maybe 500 views, but I was just like, it doesn't even matter. Like, this should be out here for everyone to see, because in 20 years it will be, like a think piece where people will look back, especially like when we were running and we're running over the Brooklyn Bridge and no one's outside,
Yeah.
because it was during COVID. So
Yeah, it was a time. It was a time to be in New York. And I'm not sure if you felt this way, but I felt I couldn't have been in a better place.
mm,
I truly felt like, the world was saying, oh, how unsafe New York is. I felt that New Yorkers do what New Yorkers do best, where they rise up, people look out for each other, people take
yeah,
responsibility for one another. And I think we couldn't have been in a better place for that. Um, so yeah, just again, kudos to you.
thank
And
you.
I want to go back now. So now we know
Hmm.
people can watch that. What they can't
Hmm.
watch, unless you do it again, is unless you book the show again, just because they would take my gay card away from me if I do not ask you about your time spent with Effie White. Tell us about your
Yes.
journeys in Dreamgirls, because like you don't get to do that show like that. Again, it tells me all about I need to know about your technique, because you can't get through that show if you are not a master technician, a master artist. So how did you get to Effie? What was the experience like? And would you do it again?
Yeah, I actually have played Effie 3 times.
Oh, whoops.
The No, it's fine. When you said that, I was like, oh, the first time I played it was at community theater, and that was
Hmm.
the first time that I like had ever really taken care of my voice and like really was like I gotta like focus and laser focus and realize how capable I was. And then the second time I did it, I actually had just come off of having vocal polyps and I had surgery on my throat, and I was like in a space where I was like, I don't know if I'll ever sing again. And then to play that role, and I also was 6 months sober, so it was like a completely different part of my life where I was like really understanding Effie because um I had seen the dark side of it and then saw the light and seeing the change of it. And then when I played it the third time, it's when I really like had been strong in my sobriety, was standing still in it, and just gotten older, and I was, because the first time I played it I was 21, 22 maybe,
Hmm.
to then play it when I was like 26, 27, to then play it when I was 30 something, 31 I think, or something like that. 30. So it was different points in my life that I played it, and I was just like, the growth that she had to go through, I 100% had to go through too, because you know I'm actually directing Dreamgirls coming up now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm very
Wow.
excited. So now it's really full circle. Um, but the journey that Effie goes on, where it's this woman who, she is misunderstood, and I I play Effie as someone who not only is misunderstood, but it's like she also she did go a little crazy. She did go a little crazy, and she got
Yeah.
in her own way. She got in her own way, and if she wouldn't have gotten her own way, then things could have happened. And then when things did fall apart, they completely fell apart. Because I play Effie as someone who, in the second act, maybe she was an alcoholic, maybe she did go through a drug thing. Because it's like, what do you do with all that money they give you, and then like you're seeing your old best friend with your man, just a whole bunch of stuff. And I could talk about
Yeah.
Dreamgirls forever. This is my favorite show. But anyway, it was a journey for me, because like that second act Effie, I was like, now I am living my second act Effie, and now I am like at the very top, and like have learned from my mistakes in the past, learned from being arrogant, learned from, you know yes, she was sick, but like calling in sick or not showing up or not doing what I'm supposed to do, not being on time and all this stuff. So I feel like I have fully peaked and arced as her. And I would totally play it again just one more time to be like, let's see what I can really do now that I'm almost 40. But I
Get
got the
it.
young looks.
You shocked me.
But I'm excited to direct it and put my stamp on it.
That's phenomenal. Now, what was with a role that is so well known and so celebrated and has had at least two very specific stamps on it? So, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's human nature. People, when they go to see concerts, they want to hear what they heard on the album. When they go
Yeah.
see this, so roles that get known there, it's a slippery slope. How did you manage to make it your own? And what were you able to borrow to be like, you know what? That's the right choice. And I'm gonna do what
Mm-hmm.
you did, but I'm gonna make it. How did you make Effie your own while honoring the essence?
Yeah, the first time I played it was after the movie came out. So I had both ladies to look at, which was amazing. But then deep diving and finding all these other women, you know, I I always say that I'm a healthy singer. Like with Jennifer Holliday and Jennifer Hudson, they just have that natural like rasp, growl, like that oomph that I don't necessarily possess all the way. Like I do have a deep gospel voice, but they have that like hardcore church singing in them that I
Hmm.
don't feel is comes natural to me. And so that was something that I really kind of got in my head about in the beginning. But then I was just like, you know what? I have to give it the best of my ability and what I see Effie as, and see how the pain is. And the thing is, let's be real, most audiences, they don't know. They're just like, okay, like here's this girl, she's singing, and if you're acting and giving it. So that was something I really had to to like push through and deal with, but also realizing like I also have to sing this because I've never had an understudy when I played Effie. I have to go on every night of this show. So I was like, I got to play it to where I know that I can perform it tomorrow.
Yeah.
If I was only going on twice a week, I could do all the crazy things, but no, someone who is usually the main Effie or the only Effie, I was like,
Yeah.
no. And then,
Wow.
things that I would say that I borrowed from them, specifically Jennifer Holliday, just her story and her journey through the whole show and just who she is as a person, like listening to her interviews. And one interview she said that has always stuck with me is when she played Suge Avery in The Color Purple. And,
Mm.
people were kind of like, oh, okay, like this seems, like why is she playing this? And she said, I may not be right for this role, but I'm right for this moment. And I was like,
Mm.
amen to that. I was like, I might not be right for this role, or people might say whatever, but I am right for this moment because this is supposed to work on me. So
Exactly. And you can't be going off of what everyone else is saying. You have to
yeah.
write it because somebody's going to see you.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, which you probably already know for yourself, someone's going to see you and they're going to want to choose this life. They're going to be inspired. You're going to help someone, even just like
Mm-hmm.
not as a performer, just like an emotional breakthrough. You're doing it, and you may never know who saw you,
Yeah.
but they will know that they got through what they needed to get through, that they decided to go down this path because of you. So I'm glad that you have that determination. And again, I am so jealous that I have not seen you in that. Just because from what I've heard on you online, it is just
Aw.
it is just phenomenal. So that's a dream role. Was it a dream role, or did you just stumble into it?
Yes. It's a dream role.
And what are some other dream roles that are kind of like down the pipeline that you're just like, cool, this one is definitely in my future. What are you waiting for? Like your turn at bat for?
Yes, I would love to be Celie in The Color Purple.
Mm.
Because a lot of times I get called in for Sophia, but I actually have more of a Celie voice. And I would love to be Dorothy and the Wiz, which
Mm.
are the Wiz. The Dorothy and the Wiz, which at this point I am aging out a little bit. But with the
I'll
right
edit out
people
your age. I won't
surrounding
tell.
me,
I'll edit it out. I was nobody has to know. She's 21, everybody.
right, I was like, with the right people surrounding me,
Exactly.
it is fine. And in the right outfit, the right bow in my head, like it works.
Yeah.
So I still really want to be Dorothy and the Wiz and Celie. And I've also something new that I was looking at. I would like to be Vivian and Legally Blonde, just
Mm.
because it's not the stereotypical role, but also she gets to sing the Legally Blonde like and
Yeah.
so
That Kate
I'm like,
Shindle quilt.
yes. And Fontaine and Les Mis. That
Oh,
is dream. But a lot of times I'm looked at for Thenardier, but I want to be Fontaine.
that I love that. We're gonna just put that into existence. Everyone listening, take a moment and see that. Just see it.
Yes.
Now I want to talk about the next thing that you're doing, which I'm not. I think it's newer, but you're doing now an online and in person, but your online presence for your vocal studio.
Hmm.
Where's Nattalyee, the voice teacher, come from? How did that journey start?
Yeah, I actually have always kind of taught students one on one, but I wouldn't say I made a thing of it. It's like if someone was like, "Oh, I need help," I'm like, "Sure, I'll help you," or like people would recommend like, "Can you help this?" And I love kids. Like kids, working with kids is my favorite, especially fourth through eighth grade. And so I was like, I'm gonna take a leap of faith here and just really like focus on my studio because I had a couple kids that I consistently work with, and my student who just booked the role of MJ, who's playing now, he was like my first like real consistent student that I was always meeting with weekly, working with, like helping him. And I was just like, and then from him I got recommended to somebody else, and then from her I got recommended to somebody else, and I was like, and like their agents or their managers would recommend me to their other clients. And I was like, we have like so many things for adults, like I think of like Liz Kaplan, and she's great. I've worked at her studio before. Once I won like a free lesson there. Um, and I just think like how she's such a name for Broadway, and I just really would love to start doing that for kids, especially kids who are Black, Brown, Indigenous. POC is not my favorite word, but just of color. And so really specialize, and most of my students, 80-90% of them are Black, Brown, or some sort of descent in that way. I mean, I am open to working with anyone. I also work with adults, doesn't matter. But like a lot of times those kids just, when they're working with a white teacher, or you just can't your the Broadway wants you to have soul, but then my white teacher can't teach me to have soul. So I don't know I don't know what to do. And so that's when I step in and I really help kids find their soul, find the ad libs, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
because it
And in
is
a
in
safe
there.
space. And in a safe space to where it's not like those things that they say in acting school, those things that casting directors kind of beat around the words that they use to get like, can you do it a little more this? Can you be a little more urban? Can you be, it's like, what the hell does that mean? I'm from Connecticut. It's like
Yeah,
those in a very safe space that's not going to uh pigeonhole them. Like, yeah, you can do all this, but you could sing opera if you wanted to. Like,
yeah,
I think that's very important and very on par with that reel in Gypsy. Like the seats at this table are now being filled with people from everywhere, and that's
yeah,
phenomenal. And specifically for young people who don't have the Teflon ability yet to be able to be that safe space for them. That's phenomenal. Now, how do you prioritize your lessons? Like, walk us through a lesson. I'm walking in. It's my first time with Miss Nattalyee. What are we doing?
yeah. So how I work with my students is, and it's great that you said safe, because that is the very first thing that I tell them is this is a safe space. Like, I like to record, but I always tell them when I'm recording. I always ask for permission. I always let them know what I'm going to post. But it's a safe space. Like, if you're going to mess up in this room because it's just you and me, or we're online. I'm like, it's just you in your bedroom and maybe your parents are listening, but I'm like, this is the place to do all of that. And so we'll do some warm ups first and just, figuring out where their voice is, where it's sitting, because there are a lot of vocal coaches online. You'll see reacting to videos or working with kids. And I say to people all the time, I think those coaches are great. I follow all of them. I love them all. But a lot of the students that they post online are the students who are already amazing. It's like they have a natural ability, they have a natural gift. Like, this kid was going to make it with or without you. But I want to show that you can actually come from maybe not the best, maybe a little wobbly, maybe all of that, and actually become better. It's not going to take 2 days. It's not going to be one session, but within 6 months, a year, whatever it is. Like, the goal is for me to help you move on to the next person. I will stay with you as long as you want, but so that is my goal. And I also tell people, like, my lessons are for if you just want to have more confidence, if you want to sing in your church choir, if you want to go karaoke and show off and feel good when you karaoke. Singing doesn't have to always be something competitive. It doesn't always have to be anything like that. It's just like, my kid likes to sing and I want them to sing on pitch. I have some students like that. Like, that's
Yeah,
exactly what I'm here for.
that's exactly how I got into singing because my mom was doing community theater. I wanted to do everything she was doing, and if I matched pitch, I matched pitch, but it wasn't something that I did intentionally. Like I actually could not match pitch. So if I started right, I was good. And if I didn't, I wasn't. So, and I thankfully, she's on the wall somewhere here. My very first voice teacher uh,
Mm,
did exactly that and really was just, it's not just about singing notes. It's not just about, these certain things that you're seeing everyone else doing. Like they've been in voice lessons since they were 4. They did it like, we're here to learn about you and you're here to learn about music. And I think I'm really glad that you said what you said about, the students who usually get featured are the ones who are going to do fine anyway, because we experience that, when looking at colleges. It's like, oh, well, look at what CCM produces, look at what NYU produces, look at what
yeah.
Michigan produces. But look who they take. Look,
Mm-hmm.
look who they take. These are people who were already going to be stars who
Yeah.
are already going to
I'm
get
like, with or without you, they were gonna do it.
I'd be more interested if you could be someone like my voice teacher who took an awkward kid like me who couldn't match pitch, and now I'm a freaking legit tenor. Like that,
Yeah.
I feel deserves a little more, and not for myself, but for her. And
No, exactly though.
all the people, like, you can really come from nothing and be something. And really everything is possible. But like you said, it's not going to happen in 2 days. You're
No,
gonna,
and that's a big thing that I have to tell parents. They get discouraged, and they're like, I don't know, like why nothing's happening or this or that, and I'm just like, the student I have right now, who for me is I will say, first big break, like who I literally trained the whole time. When we first started, I remember when he first brought the music in, I was like, not, I didn't think it was never going to happen, but I was like, babe, we can't even hit these notes. And I
yeah,
was just like, sure, we can play around and like see what we can do. And then it was just like after rehearsal, practicing, it's like one day he literally came to a lesson and he just sang it and sounded amazing. And I was like getting emotional because I was like, what just happened? It's like everything finally clicked. So, and it took him probably a year to do that. So that's why I tell people, I'm like, and he's lucky it was only a year.
yeah, exactly. That's phenomenal. And one thing, so this morning I opened up Instagram as I usually do, and you had posted something so freaking cute. And I feel like I want everyone to know that these are the types of things you do with your students.
Hmm.
And it was, I think your student requested that you record her,
Hmm.
and it was because you build warm-ups with them. So it's not just mommy made me mash my M&Ms. It's not
Yes.
mommy moo moo moo. It's not all the ones that we grew up doing. It
Yes.
you get and so where did that come from? How did you decide that, like, this is how I'm going to get to my students? Will you and explain to the listeners what I'm talking about, because I'm just rambling at this point.
No, so there's all these warm ups like many mumbling mice that we've learned as kids, or mommy made me mash my M and M's. And as much as I love those warm ups, which they're good, and I've even kind of like stylized those to make them a little different and a little, I'm not gonna say more fun, but just something different and more
Yeah.
contemporary. One of my students, she couldn't do one of the warm ups I was doing. It was a little challenging, and so I was just like, oh, okay, well let's pare it down. And then she was like, okay, like, can I help you? And I was like, sure, like, let's do these words, let's make it up. And then she literally was like, wait, and just sang this thing and was like, can we do that? And I was like, actually, yes, we can do that. I was like, yes, let's do it. And then after that, like, I was just like, I should have these kids making these up. And like, the goal is after I go through the alphabet A through Z, I want to actually like make a book of it, or not a book per se, but like online, like an online video where I feature different kids, and like I'll have professional music with it, so that way they can just like go through it and do these different warm-ups and have them, but I want them to be made by kids, so it's like, hey, I didn't make this up and trying to trick you. It's like this kid actually made it up with me, and so
Yeah.
that way they can feel more competent to do it.
Yeah, and really take ownership. Like, I'm a part of this. Whereas, when kids taking piano, it's like, oh, why do I have to do for Elise like that? I want to play, this. I want to play this song. And so you're really inviting them to be like,
Hmm.
it's your voice. If you want,
Yeah.
like, that's really special.
Thank you.
So how now moving forward, with this being career, but also part of investing, not just supplementing the dream, but investing in the dream. How do you manage teaching voice and then having enough space, enough reserves for you to go to Green Room 42, to go to 54 Below, and just knock audiences out of their chair? Like, how do you balance not just the stamina, but also the energy and like the direction? Like, I can do both of these.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll say, you know, when I was working full time at the dog shop, I was working like 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I was just like doing that on top of still trying to build a show, on top of still, having lessons and like, and I was just like, this is actually like insane. Like, I was like, this is quite literally insanity. And I was like, something has to give. And so recently, I was just talking about this with someone, taking a leap of faith on yourself. Because I was like, for me, if all else fails, if theater walks away, if voiceover, if TV, film, directing, everything walks away, I actually renew my Illinois license every 5 years. And so I tell my teaching license, I tell myself, if it all fades away, you 100% can go back to teaching. So while you're young, while you're still mobile, while you can still do everything, take the risk. Yeah, you will be a little tired. Yeah, it might not be the most fun thing ever in that moment, but it's like when I get on stage and I perform, I'm like, all of this was worth it
Hmm.
to do this show, and also to bring people in my show and all this stuff. But I will say I'm a very big advocate where I'm like, one day a week I'm sleeping in, like, point blank period, like, this is my day. Um so I do make sure to have that.
Yeah.
But that's how I tell myself, I'm like, it's all gonna be it for me, it is all worth it, even if it is a little busy and a little hard and a little crunch, you know. I just think of that one day that I get to sleep in, and then the fun I have when I'm on stage. Like, I just love it.
Yeah, we unpacked that. Not sure if it was last episode or whatever, in a very different way. It's like you looking forward to that day to sleep. It's like the same thing when you're in a restaurant and you're just getting murdered, and it's like, you know what? I'm looking forward to that check clearing because
Hey.
I'm getting stampeded right now. But one day that money's gonna hit my bank account, and for you, it's like one day I'm gonna sleep in, and that's gonna be all that I need. And then also furthering it, at some point, an audience is going to stand to their feet because I know they will.
Yes.
I know
Hmm.
that is going to stand to their feet, and I'm going to look out at a packed Green Room 42. I'm going to look out at a packed 54 Below, and it really, those are the carrots that we as artists. It really keeps us going. I had a guest on early on, Lee Anderson, and she would, and I love this because I'm just like, eh, everyone thinks that actors are self-centered and that we're just all about ourselves, but we're very almost neurotic about like not coming off as egotistical to the point where we can't even just sing our own praises. Like, I actually can do that. It's not
Yeah.
being immodest. It's just a fact. And what she did, that I was like, I'm still not there yet, but I love that you did this. She listens to her own recordings, and this is why I'm working, because I want to get back in the studio. This is why I'm working, because I want,
Hmm.
and it's just such a powerful tool to remind, like, you can get through anything if you have a strong enough of a why. And
Yeah.
I think you embody that in so many ways. And with all that being said, I want people to know how to experience the joy that I've experienced in the past 5 years following you, how they can support you, how they can cheer you on, and how they can get the voice lessons. So here's your chance to let us know where to find you, how to find you, and how to help uplift your voice.
Thank you. Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at Nattalyee. That's Nattalyee. I'm gonna say that again. Nattalyee. And I have in my bio the links to not only my 50-mile run for justice protest, and also my Natalie uh it's so long. Like, I make all these long names and I'm like, what is the let me just Nattalyee Vocal Studio for the Youth. My friends are like, cut that name down now. And I'm like, no. It stands out because it's too long.
Because it's too long and you need to say it, because that's what it is. And it makes up for the fact that your main handle is so easy. It's
Yes.
literally not many people get to have just their first name as their
Yeah.
handle. So it's all about balance. And so they can go there, they can find out all about how to book lessons with
Yes,
you.
you can just DM me. I'm actually fixing my website right now because my website, Nattalyee.com, very lucky. My email, Nattalyee@gmail.com. Very lucky. My website is in the works right now, and it's
Because it,
still like you
it
can still get on
currently
there.
says you only played Effie twice.
I was like, I need to update my website so bad. And I was like, yeah, it's time to hire someone to do this, because I like literally got on it and I was like embarrassed looking at it. I had secondhand embarrassment for myself. So I'm updating that to also put stuff about my voice so people can contact me there. But right now people are just DMing me that way, and that's how I've done it. Or they can email me at
Yeah.
Nattalyee@gmail.com, or DM me at Nattalyee, Nattalyee, and I will definitely get back to you that way.
Yeah, got back to me about being on the show, which I'm so happy. I'm just like,
Aw.
my face hurts from smiling. Now, the way I like to end every show, uh, is we know as performers and you working in concessions and merchandise, and we didn't even talk about the horrific things you witnessed in a Broadway lobby, which I'm sure there's plenty of human behavior
Yes.
to unpack. But like I said at the beginning, we're not going to have enough time to unpack everything. You know that bad news travels faster than good news, if at all. And which is why I like to make a point. If I'm at work and that somebody is going out of their way to make my life easier, if I'm at a restaurant and a server or bartender is going out of their way to just make my experience that much better, I, I want to let someone know. I want to let yesterday some lady came up, or the other day came up to me to tell me that, you know, what a great experience she had. I'm not the manager. Everyone just thinks because of the mustache that what a great experience she had with like my dumbest coworker. Like this guy is such a jackass. But you see, it's every now and then, you know, the clock
Aw,
is right twice a day. She had such
it
an
sure
experience.
is.
It's true. So she shared that with me, and even though I was like, man, that can't be real, I still went to my manager and shared what she shared with me, because it's important to let good
Yeah.
news find the people it needs to find. So with all, I am just talking today, with all the many tough shifts you've had and the many hats you've worn, who is somebody that you would like to acknowledge today that has made a tough shift a little more bearable for you in any of the fields you've worked?
Yeah, I would say my friend Micah, we have worked a lot of the same jobs together. Like I'll get him a job, he'll get me a job. He's one of my best friends, and we both kind of took a pause on theater together. Like whenever I paused, he paused. It's just kind of crazy how it works. He's like a brother to me, and so luckily we both got out of the dog shop at the same time because we were working there together. And he now just booked the Wiz tour because
Wow.
we were together and he didn't have an appointment. And I was just like, you know what? You got it. I was like, I have the materials. I have the email of the casting director. Just send your stuff in. He ended up booking it. And I'm just like so proud of him because it's like we have been rising and grinding together. And like it's so tiring. And sometimes, especially him, he's like, I don't know why I'm still even trying this. And
Hmm.
so for him to be able to get out of because he works at Whole Foods and like ushers and all that stuff. So for him to be able to not have to serve pizza, have to usher and give somebody a playbill, I'm so proud of him and I'm so happy for him and to even like be able to be a witness of it. So I want to shout him out because he's always gotten me a job and I've gotten him stuff and now he didn't have to worry about it for a year.
That couldn't have been a more perfect answer. I also have worked with children as a nanny, so I know you would understand that a lot of the main point that I was trying to get across in every interaction was it's not a competition, it's a
Mm-hmm.
collaboration, and your
Aw.
answer really, really speaks that into truth, about you uplifting each other and cheering each other on and being each other's rocks. So, Micah, there you have it. This episode has been for you. Thank you for
He's
everything
gonna love
that you do. And,
He'll start
and
crying.
well, Micah, get your Kleenex. Clearly, the world needs more people like you. So thank you for being you and for being who you are, specifically to Nattalyee here. That has been another episode of Tough Shift. And just remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life. Take care. Tough Shift was created and hosted by Sean Patrick Murtagh. It was recorded on Riverside and distributed with Buzzsprout. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and maybe a comment or two. And remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life.